Thursday night football had some excitement to it, but the Buccaneers came out on top. Still, Jalen Hurts had some signs of life there for the Philadelphia Eagles. Breaking that down with me will be your boy Q. I'm Chris Carter. We're the Friday hosts of the Locked On NFL podcast, and we will be sure to get Q's thoughts on the Jon Gruden situation with the Las Vegas Raiders, as that's the team he's covered. All that capped with our Week 6 picks right here on the Locked On NFL podcast.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to the Locked On NFL podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with my friend and co-host, your boy Q, from the Locked On Raiders podcast. I'm from the Locked On Steelers podcast, breaking it down on a Friday. Q, how was your week, my man?
Hey, there's nothing going on in my world, you know?
You had nothing to cover. It was quiet as a church mouse week in Las Vegas.
Right. I was searching for stuff to talk about all week long. I had nothing going on. It was a very exciting, in a weird kind of way, week in Las Vegas, covering the Raiders and covering all the things that were going on. And I know we'll talk about it later on in the show, but please believe I haven't been short of interviews I've done across the country this week. So, yeah, man, I'm ready to go. I don't even know how I still have a voice. I've been talking so much, but it's all good.
It's all good. Well, before we get to that, we will be sure to get to the Raiders talk. I need to get your opinions on this show. As two black men, and with the things that came out from Jon Gruden's emails, I think it's important for us to have a dialogue on this. But we will give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans their due. Their team came out on top in a game that they needed to win on Thursday night football. It started getting a little scary at the end, but they closed strong. 28-22 was the final. Tom Brady threw 2 touchdowns, did throw an interception at the end of the first half, but another solid game from him, almost 300 yards passing. Leonard Fournette got on the board this game, 22 carries, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns runs. Antonio Brown and the O.J. Howard were the touchdowns catchers for Tampa Bay. But the Eagles started to make this close really late. My thing with the Eagles, Q, and I don't know if you agree, I like Jalen Hurts as a player, as a person. I think he inspired me with the way that he carried himself, with how he was kicked off Alabama for Tua Tagovailoa, went to Oklahoma, made a name for himself, and you see he fights for you in every single game. I'm just not sure that he's ever going to find a level of consistency with the way that the Eagles are using him in this game. He completed 12 for 26 of his passes, 115 yards through the air, 1 touchdown pass, threw an interception, did run for 2 touchdowns on 44 yards. But it's like, you see him spinning his wheels. It's just, it doesn't seem there's just anything really to base like that. There's no foundation for him to work with in this Eagles offense.
Yeah, because they don't have any weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, they just don't. You know, they're asking him, and I'm with you. I like Jalen Hurts a lot as a person. I think he could be a good player in the league. I thought that he was kind of thrown into that starting lineup a little soon. But I've said that multiple weeks, and then I realized Jalen's out there doing everything he can. Who's around him? Yeah. I mean, they got Rager. I get that. They have Miles Sanders. I get that. But
Devontae Smith now. But also he's under siege almost every play. Almost every play was someone's in his face in the backfield. He has to make that man miss, run to the sideline, and then be like, let me find somebody.
Yep. He needs an offensive line, obviously, and he needs really big time. I mean, Devontae Smith, I like him a lot coming out of Alabama, but he's a littler dude. Jalen Rager, I liked him coming out of TCU, but he's a littler dude. I mean, are you catching the theme here? You know what I mean? They need someone with that big size that could be that command, that could be that dude. I mean, when Zach Ertz is one of your biggest targets, that tells you all you need to know because he's older in the tooth. So I think that Jalen Hurts has an opportunity to be a player, but he's also got to have a team built around him, and they just don't have it yet. When he was at Oklahoma, he played really well. You know why? Because they had studs all over the field. He needs to get some more studs on the field and get an offensive line. But I do like him. I just think it's a little bit too early, and the team's not ready for him yet.
And it's funny you say that about that size situation. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, the guy that caught the first touchdown in the Super Bowl, Alshon Jeffrey. He wasn't no little dude. He knew how to go and get the football. Sometimes you need, and it's good to have speedy, quick guys. I'm not saying you don't want those guys, but it helps to have a big body dude who can win those physical combat catches. And it's tough on a younger quarterback who isn't Patrick Mahomes or some, he's got the golden arm. I think Jalen Hurts will be fine in this league for years to come. But I agree with you. He does need that. Also, I mean, I think it's hilarious that whenever they hand the Eagles finally hand the ball off to Miles Sanders, you hear the crowd like sarcastically cheer. It just shows you that there's a lot of frustration going on in Philly, but not to neglect Tampa. I thought they played a strong game, despite having all the injuries they did, missing Antoine Winfield and guys all throughout the secondary in this game. Richard Sherman, the guy they got to bring in, he goes out with a hamstring injury. Just lots of concerns here, but Tom, it's normal. As long as you have Tom Brady and he has a group of guys around him, you're going to have a good chance to win.
Yeah, and the thing about it is there's a lot of injuries that Tampa Bay is dealing with, especially like you mentioned on the defensive side of the ball, and that's why their defense is taking a step back this season from what it was last year. I really like the emergence of Leonard Fournette, man. I like what Fournette brings to the table. I think he was the difference maker in this game. It's always going to get Tom Brady's going to get all the attention because he's Tom Brady and he's earned that. But Leonard Fournette, like you mentioned, man, he had 80-something yards on the ground, but he also had over 40-something yards through the air.
Yep, two touchdowns.
Exactly, and then you have AB playing big time ball. He had more than 8 catches. I think he had 9 catches. I mean, dude's out there. He's out there balling. I mean, he's making it where Mike Evans doesn't have to be a big time player each and every week. There's guys that don't have to step up each and every week because somebody else will fill that void. But man, I'm telling you, it all goes, as far as I'm concerned, with Leonard Fournette. What he brings to the table, the strong runs that he's able to bring. I mean, he was vintage Leonard Fournette on Thursday night. He reminded me of Leonard Fournette from LSU.
I mean, here's the thing. Tom Brady has always been best when he has a balanced offense and he can make you think with every single threat that he has on the field. The Buccaneers, as long as they have Fournette healthy and they have that offensive line and the receivers are healthy, Tom Brady's going to have all the weapons he can throw to. It's why they're going to be a Super Bowl threat throughout the rest of the season. But we want to get to the Raiders topic. We will do that in just a bit here. First, I got to tell you guys about Bet Online, one of our great sponsors here and one of the great places to go place bets on football, whether it's pro or college, all season long. Bet Online is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. And don't forget, they have a new updated site and interface. It's going to be easier for you to navigate the website. You have even more odds, props, contests, different ways to win money as they continue to prove to be the number one source for everything football. If you have if you have an idea on who's going to be the next coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, you could place a bet on that. If you want to bet on who's going to be the next coach, right? If you want to place a bet on who's the next coach to get fired in the NFL, you can bet on that too. But head to the website and use your mobile device to sign up today, and you'll receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use the promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON. Locked On, all capital letters, all one words, and you'll receive a 50% bonus on your first deposit. With that new interface, you're going to find different ways to place your bets down. BetOnline is the newest and fastest, easiest way to get all of your favorite sports and bet on them. From football to basketball to boxing, right down to horse racing, don't wait to take advantage of all the great offers available for the 2021 season at BetOnline, where the game starts. Keeping it rolling here on the Friday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. I'm Chris Carter. He's your boy Q. As always, you can find this on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, anywhere podcasts are hosted. Q, we got to get to the Raiders talk. And I know that you've talked about it a lot. I even texted my man. I was like, hey, man, like, are you good for one more of these? Because I knew that you've been, I haven't even gotten a chance to talk to you this week. And I knew that you were going to be inundated with it. Like, the first thing I saw when this thing came out, I was like, oh, man, Q's going to have a rough one. And, it just, but it's part of the job. It's why you're there. You want to break it down for everybody. I got to ask you about this, Q, because Jon Gruden's gone. We're not going to rehash all that, but I do want to get your thoughts on how Mark Davis has handled the situation, because the first time I heard Mark Davis's name was when Adam Schefter reported that Mark Davis showed up at the Raiders facility Monday afternoon and had a 2-hour sit down with Jon Gruden, and then he was let go. But when later this week, he was asked about it, Mark Davis's simple words were, ask the NFL, they have all the answers. I have no comment. I asked the NFL, they have all the answers. And that was it from the owner, who hired Jon Gruden, who backed Jon Gruden, who gave him one of the maybe the biggest contract an NFL coach has ever gotten in this league. It seemed to me, from an outsider's point of view, I don't have any sources in the Raiders. I don't cover the Raiders like you do, but it seemed to me like that was a no comment that was like, I had nothing to do with this situation and I don't care to comment on this situation, even though this is absolutely in the wheelhouse of I should comment on this situation. Can you provide insight as to what Mark Davis is doing by not addressing this further and the tone that he used to comment on this?
Well, first, he's angry. He's very angry and he's very hurt. Jon Gruden was a very close friend of his. He was a guy that he pursued for many years after he was gone. After he took over ownership of the team, he pursued him for years, trying to get him back on the sideline. And finally, he was able to, after the 2017 season, get him to agree to return. And you said it, gave him the big contract, gave him the keys to the kingdom, and said, "Hey, build the team the way you want it." And basically approved everything Jon Gruden wanted. He did. And so I think that he's very hurt by the fact that all this is coming out and this is on his watch. And, it's just, it's a bad look. Obviously, we all know what was said. We all know Jon Gruden's emails. We don't have to go through word for word on that. But
Right. We know
I
what the
think
deal is.
I think he's also angry because it's 650,000 emails. At least that's the reported number. And right now, all we're talking about is Jon Gruden. So I'm sure that he, at some point, is saying, "Wait a minute. You're telling me out of all the interaction that Bruce Allen had with all the different teams and all the different coaches and all the different coordinators and all the different owners in the league, Jon Gruden's the only one that has some kind of conversation?" So he feels like it's a witch hunt. He really does. He feels like, hey, this is something that they targeted Jon Gruden for some reason, somebody, and obviously I don't have the answer to this, but he feels like somebody had it out for Gruden, wanted him out of there, and has it out for the Raiders. I've seen reports that there's people around Mark Davis saying that someone's trying to get him out, and I'm not saying that that's
Mm.
true. I'm not saying it's not true, but we all know the saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I think that there's a lot to this story still. I think that, it's going to be a slow drip process. I think we're going to hear a little bit here, and then I hear a little bit there, and then a little bit here, and a little bit there. And I use it like I say it like a faucet, like say you're laying in bed and you're asleep or you're trying to go to sleep and your faucet just keeps
Mhm.
dropping and it's dead silent. All you hear is bloop, bloop, bloop. I did that 3 times and that's annoying, right?
Yeah,
So
very.
you know what I'm saying? Like, can you imagine that this thing, over 650,000 emails, how slow of a drip we might get news? And so I don't think that Mark Davis wants to say anything. I think he should. I think he should say something, not to me, not to you, not to he. I mean, I know he talked to the team, but I think he needs to talk to the fan base. I think he needs to tell the fan base, like, hey, it'll be okay. This is a bad situation, but we got the proper guys in place. We're gonna be okay, because they're the ones that spend the money. They're the ones that fly to Vegas. They're the ones that buy the tickets. They're the ones that are eating in the restaurants. They're the ones that are supporting the team if they're 2-15 or they're 14-2 or whatever the record is. Raider Nation is the one that supports them all the time. Raider Nation is the ones fighting with other, hosts talking about there's no other nation. I mean, you know what I mean?
Raider
Like,
region.
you don't have any idea. You don't even know how to spell region.
Region.
Don't even get me started on that. You can't even spell region. But the Raider Nation will go and fight and claw and scratch for this team. So I think at the very least, Mark Davis should come out and talk to Raider Nation and say, "Hey, I got your back. Don't worry. It's going to be all right."
I,
So
I
there's a,
agree with that
there's a lot of
sentiment,
emotions
Q.
going on with Mark Davis right now, and I think that's why he hasn't spoke.
But one thing you said, he's angry. Do
Yeah.
you sense that anger is more at the fact that this situation is happening, or at Jon Gruden for putting him here? Because here's my bottom line. I agree that there are definitely people on those 650,000 emails that could be ousted and put
Right.
on Front Street the way that Jon Gruden was. I do not disagree with that at all, and I
Right.
think that's been one of the great points. The former cheerleaders of the Washington football team,
Right.
they want that out there. I agree. Go get whoever you can with those emails, just like you went and got Jon Gruden. But I don't think there's any room to be like, man, Jon Gruden really got the short end of the stick here, because like, no, buddy, you put that on the interwebs. If
Right.
if you put that out there, first of all, you have to know that if anything that you send electronically can get back to you. Now,
Yep.
phone conversations, that's one of the things that are protected, even though he allowed Antonio Brown to publish one of his phone conversations in like a rap song or whatever it was, however, or the YouTube video that he posted. But for me, it's like, I don't think there's any room for Mark Davis to be mad at, at the NFL or how the media is handled, because it's like, look, man, that's putting a match to it. That's putting gasoline on a fire. Like, that's going to get traction really fast, especially into, if this was 20 years ago, this would have been like, man, wow, Jon Gruden really out there, right? But, hey, he'll be coaching next Sunday. But this is now when the NFL has made, there's literally end racism in each end zone now. And even though the word end racism's in an end zone doesn't do anything to end racism.
Right.
If you're taking that stance as an organization that these things need to be done and we have to change these things, and you got a guy making fun of DeMaurice Smith for his lips and calling him dumb, and then saying and like, even that, like, you're like, okay, maybe you could say that was just a one-time thing and that had nothing to do with race. Right. But then with about women and about gay people and about women being referees and just the different things, it's just thing after thing after thing.
Roger Goodell,
and see, that was the bottom
ownership.
That was the bottom. Once he disrespected Roger Goodell, not that I care about him disrespecting Roger Goodell, right. But what is the league supposed to do at that point when Roger Goodell's right. Like, all right, this guy's got to go? It's like, that'd be like me coming after David Locke and being like, oh, I hate David Locke. He'd get rid of me, and he should, because I should not be saying those things online. So it's like, come on, man. Like, these are the things. For me, for Mark Davis to be mad at anyone other than Jon Gruden right now, to me, is him making this something else. Like him saying the NFL has all the answers. That comes off to me as a sarcastic way of saying I disagree with the fact that my guy is getting punished. I think Jon Gruden deserves everything he's gotten right now, and I think that situation isn't the problem. The problem for me is there should be other heads out there with Jon Gruden taking this heat.
I agree. And I think that Mark Davis is mad at the NFL. I think he is mad at Jon Gruden. I think he's mad at a lot of people. I think he's mad that he had to make this decision. I think he's mad that he had to, ultimately he knew he was going to have to pull the plug. And I think Jon Gruden did him a favor by resigning. I don't think that Mark Davis wanted to fire him because, again, he was his good buddy. He was his friend. I mean, he's a guy he pursued. And, they always say don't mix family with business. And, Jon Gruden's almost like family. And I think that Mark Davis was probably dragging his feet. Honestly, we could look at it and say he probably shouldn't have coached on Sunday. He probably shouldn't.
Especially because we found out about the New York Times story on Monday, but you and I know they knew about that story on Saturday.
They knew it on Friday.
They knew it on Friday. When that first story came out, that was the warning shot of, hey, you might want to get ahead of the rest of this. Right. And they chose not to, thinking, we can survive this. And then just the avalanche of just how bad it was. And it was funny. I was working all through Monday. I missed the New York Times story when it came out. And I sat down and I just saw the resignation story, and I was like, wow, I guess those emails were really bad. And then someone said, no, you missed the New York Times. Like, whoa, okay, yes, that is the epitome, because we all thought it too when we saw the first story. Like, man, if that's one email that he wrote, there's a lot more. Right. Like there's no doubt about that. So for me, there was a lot coming from this, but like a lot of people pointed out, like, he was attacking players for kneeling during the anthem. He was attacking the NFL for how they were starting to support those players in their efforts. You got to wonder how many more emails like that are out there from current coaches, former coaches, GMs, front office administrative guys, owners. There's a lot of questions out there. And maybe if that's where Mark Davis is at, is like, hey, I shouldn't be the only one out here dealing with this. That I do feel him on, because there should be other guys out there. But Q, this is a very important topic. I know that you're going to cover it a lot more in a great way, as you always do on the Locked On Raiders podcast. For those who want more information, go listen to the Locked On Raiders podcast every day, Monday through Friday. Q's got you breaking it down. But first, before we go to our picks for Week 6, we got to talk about Built Bar. If you want a healthy treat that tastes like a candy bar, Built Bar is the ultimate protein bar for you. It's the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team. It comes in so many different flavors. Whether you want a fruity snack like raspberry, strawberry, or orange, or something different like salted caramel, cookies and cream, Rocky Road, or double chocolate, or real cookie dough, which unfortunately, Q, I'm on a trip right now. That's why I have a different background right now. I'm in a hotel in New York, and I ate my one real cookie dough Built Bar. So I am out of Built Bars on this trip, and it has truly made me sad because I wish I had more.
You're bad.
Yeah,
You're
my
bad.
bad. I poorly planned this situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, you normally do poorly planned stuff. I can
Oh,
tell.
please.
You're a
Well,
guy that I went
first of all, oh, wait, how poorly planned was your Pittsburgh trip? How poorly planned was your Pittsburgh? Because you had a lot of fun, right? Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
did have a
yeah.
lot of fun, but I think
Uh-huh.
I did the heavy lifting in Pittsburgh.
You did. I'm not even going to honor that with a response. The best part about Built Bars is that they're
I
all
kid, I
healthy.
kid.
I'm about to say, they range. The Built Bars range from 130 to 180 calories, 17 to 18 grams of protein, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. They are a tasty and healthy snack that'll save you from eating a snack you regret later and helps anyone stay on task with their diet. Order today and get your favorite flavor delivered right to your door by going to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15, LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. And if Q ever comes to your city, don't host him because he will be ungrateful the next time you do a show with him.
I got a great memory.
Wrapping things up here on the Locked On NFL podcast, I'm Chris Carter with my ungrateful co-host.
I kid.
I know you're my guy. But in all seriousness, let's get to the picks here. Now we have to make our show shorter because we are going way over time with our shows. So with that, I'm going to pick some key games for us to pick here, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Q. We will skip some of the other games out there.
Okay.
First key game. 4-1 Chargers at 4-1 Ravens, potentially the
Woo!
game of the week.
You
This
should
is a
have
huge.
saved that one for last.
Yeah, right. There's a few of these out here, but
That's
I'm going with the Chargers. The way Justin
okay.
Herbert is playing, I think he's lights out. The Ravens have played very well as well, but they've had a lot of emotional, last second, really cool wins. But when you keep stacking those type of wins, eventually it comes back to bite you because you need to be beating opponents by a little bit more. I think this week is the start of that. I don't think the Ravens lose by a lot or they play very poorly. I just think the Chargers are a very good team and they're going to win this one.
You know, the Chargers are a really good team, man, and they were hyped to be a really good team coming into the season. I thought, oh yeah, we hear this each and every year, and then someone's going to get injured and they're going to stink. But man, the Chargers are playing some really good ball. Obviously, they're there in the AFC West. They're sitting on top of the AFC West, 4-1 overall. And what I really like about them, Justin Herbert, of course, he gets all the attention. But man, I like their head coach, man. Brandon Staley is a dude. You know,
Yeah.
he's a young cat. Got a first opportunity to be a head coach in the league. And this guy, he's got it upstairs, man. He rolls the dice a lot. And I'm sure you'll be able to appreciate this. I respect him like I respected a young Mike Tomlin. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you could tell that he had it going on. And so I think that Brandon Staley is going to be a problem in the AFC West for years to come because he's a really good coach. And so I think that the Chargers probably should win this game, but you picked the Chargers, so I'm going to go ahead and split the difference. I'm going to roll with the Ravens, and I really kind of want the Chargers to lose because they're in the AFC West, but it's going to be a battle, man. It's going to be one of the better games this week. I'm excited to watch it.
It's my it's my favorite game of the 1 o'clock. That's for sure. Packers at Bears, an NFC North showdown. Bears with a big win over the Raiders last week. Maybe some traction there, but I'm sticking with the Packers. I think they're going to continue their domination of the NFC North.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. This is short and sweet. The Packers are a good team, and the Bears, they stink. I mean, their defense is good, but their offense was terrible. I mean, Justin Fields did nothing against the Raiders. He completed 12 passes for just over 100-something yards. He was awful, but the Raiders were worse. So you just got to give the Bears props for winning the game, but I think Green Bay gets them, and I don't even think it's close in this one.
This is a game of that both teams are 2-3, but I think it has a lot of implications for both what's going on in both of their divisions. The 2-3 Chiefs at the Washington football team that's also 2-3. The Chiefs need a win desperately here. Q. I have them winning, but man, if they lose to Washington, Taylor Heineke's beating them. It's going to be a red. It's going to be a red alarm, red alert, whatever you want to call it, red flag. Everything's going to be going problems in KC.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Kansas City to take off and really, get that fire lit and boom, just have that game where it's like this is the jump off point. I think this is it. I think this Washington game is going to get them headed in the right direction. I think this is another one of those games that's not even close. Kansas City's defense stinks, but I don't think that Washington's got it going on offensively. They got some defensive parts that I like, but they don't have enough offensive to go ahead and run with Patrick Mahomes. So I think this is the Chiefs get right game, and they might start a run right here. So yeah, Kansas City gets this dub and improves their record to 3-3 overall.
Sticking with the AFC West, your boys, the Las Vegas Raiders, are going
Ooh.
into town to face the Denver Broncos, who are coming off a loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But both teams are 3-2. Both teams are coming off a tough loss. This is an important week for both to kind of set the trend. Someone's got to keep pace with the Chargers at the head of the at the head of the AFC West. I got the Broncos winning this one, not because I think that they're the better team, but because I think the Raiders have had to deal with way too much this week. It's been so much up and down. That's a lot of stress to deal with, and I've seen that disrupt so many teams in the NFL. The Broncos have a talented defense. Teddy Bridgewater is back. He's feeling better after his concussion. I just think the home team is going to find a way to win this one.
I've been back and forth on this one a lot because of everything that you said, man. I think this game's a lot for the Raiders to try to absorb, with all the shenanigans and all the off the field distractions that have gone on this week. But meeting with the team and meeting with the players and coaches on the last couple days on Thursday and Wednesday, it really kind of showed a lot of leadership, especially from Derek Carr and Max Crosby and Darren Waller. Really showed a lot of leadership on their part, and so they started getting me believing that they're going to win this game. And then I talked to John McClain from the Houston Chronicle, and he told me he thinks that, hey, I think this team is going to rally around Rich Bisaccia, who's never been a head coach in the league, but he's a leader of men. And this is something that he feels like that they need. So he actually convinced me to roll with the Raiders. I was going to roll like you and pick the Broncos, but I think somehow the Raiders go to Denver. I think it's going to be a tough out, especially being on the road. They don't have the energy of their own crowd behind them, but I think that they just need a victory. They need to get out there and clear their mind for
They
three and a
do.
half hours. So I think that they'll just go and get that dub. Again, this is on the strength of John McClain really convincing me that they're going to come together. So if I lose this one, it's on McClain.
Listen, I've always listened to John McClain. I think he's a heck of a football historian himself. So I would heed his word as well. Final game we're going to predict here. And this to me is the game of the week. You could say it's Chargers Ravens, but I think a lot of people at that 4 o'clock hour are going to look at 5-0 Cardinals at 3-2 Browns. The Browns have had two close losses to the Chiefs and the Chargers. The Cardinals are the last unbeaten team in the NFL. It's a West Coast team heading to the Midwest. This could be this game. This game could have a lot of implications on both ends. One, you got the Rams at 4-1, are going to face the New York Giants. They're going to be 5-1. The Cardinals need to stay ahead of those guys, even though they've already beaten them. I look at this as a game the Cardinals win, but I would not be surprised to see the Browns win. Biggest thing with the Browns, they're dealing with some injury concerns here. They're still not sure what's going on with their passing game. Their defense gave a lot of points to Justin Herbert last week. I see them giving up a lot of points again this week, and the Cardinals being able to create some turnovers when Baker Mayfield needs to take to the air. But what say you?
I look at this game and I agree with everything you said about just the matchup and the way it shakes out and why the Cardinals need to win and why Cleveland needs to win this game. But when I look at it and I say, what quarterback would I rather have? What quarterback would Q rather
Oh,
have? Would I
oh,
rather have Kyler Murray running the show for me, or would I rather have Baker Mayfield? And I've told you a million times, and I told anyone who will listen, Kyler Murray is a winner. Kyler Murray has winning genes. Kyler Murray is a guy who bet on himself and said, I don't need to take this deal, this contract in Major League Baseball. I'll go and I'll be a short quarterback and I'll be the number one pick overall and I'll thrive and I'll do well. And that's exactly what he's done. I know it's smart money to go ahead and bet on Cleveland because at some point the shoe's going to drop and Arizona's going to lose. I just don't think it's going to be this week. I think they improved to 6-0. Kyler Murray, the winner, gets another win and improves to 6-0.
should be a very interesting one. Check out all the games Sunday and Monday. It's going to be a lot of interesting games to check that out. And of course, here on the Locked On NFL podcast, they'll be breaking it down with Bo Brock on Monday, getting you all the results of the games, the biggest stories coming out of those games right here. But Q, this is always fun. Thanks for doing the show with me, man. You're a hell of a co-host. Please let people know where they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Well, you can always see me on Twitter. You can always find me on Twitter, and that's kind of like a tracking. It's like GPS, man. You always know where I'm at your boy Q254. I'm moving and shaking, holding down the city of Las Vegas. I'm in my quest to become the mayor. I got Locked On Raiders. I got Locked On Bets, Locked On NFL with you. I'm Locked On Las Vegas. I'm just locked on everything. That's just how I get down. But in reality, man, check me out at your boy Q254. That's my Twitter page, and you can find me. And Chris, go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques, like Q. That's where you can find all my work just posted on there. I host the Locked On Steelers podcast Monday through Friday. Do the Friday podcast on Locked On NFL with this crazy guy over here. So I'm sharing a screen with. You can also read my work at dkpittsburghsports.com. You can watch more of me on channel 11 WPXI in Pittsburgh with all my breakdowns of fantasy football, high school football, pro football, all the footballs right there. Thanks again for watching or listening to the Locked On NFL podcast. We'll be back in your ears next week as we break it down on another Friday.
Peace.